The night sky over the alien city was dark and heavy with clouds. A storm was coming, but the storm inside the courtroom was louder than the one outside. The people gathered in the hall of judgment, whispering with angry voices. In the center stood a young alien girl, Liara, her hands tied, her head bowed. She was only 16 years old, but her face looked older because of fear. The council of elders sat on high chairs. Looking down at her, they called her a sinner, a disgrace, a danger to her own people. She kept shaking her head, tears falling, whispering, "I did nothing," but no one believed her. The crowd shouted, demanding punishment. Some spat on the floor when her name was spoken. Others shouted curses, calling her cursed by the stars. The elder council leader raised his hand, and the room became silent. His voice was cold, sharp, and final. "Liara, you have broken the sacred law. You have brought shame to your family. You have brought shame to our kind. Your sin cannot be forgiven." Liara tried to speak, her voice trembling. "What sin? What did I do? Please tell me." But the elder only shook his head, his eyes filled with hate. "You touched the forbidden truth. You spoke what must never be spoken. For that, you will suffer." The punishment was not death. Death would have been mercy. Instead, they chose something worse. She would be blinded, her eyes taken from her. She would be spayed, her body changed so she could never give birth. She would walk the rest of her life alone, with no family, no children, no sight. The guards stepped forward, pulling her away from the light. The people clapped and shouted, their anger filling the air. Liara cried out, begging for mercy, but no mercy came. The cold instruments of pain touched her, and her world turned to burning fire. Her last sight was the golden lights of the judgment hall, then only darkness, endless forever. Her voice broke as she screamed, and then silence. The punishment was complete. When the crowd left, there was no joy in Lyra's heart. She lay in chains, her body weak, her face wet with tears. She whispered into the empty air, "I am innocent. Why will no one believe me?" But the walls gave her no answer. 15 years is a long time in the life of any being. For Liara, every day was the same. She woke in darkness, worked in darkness, and slept in darkness. The people of her city forgot her name. They only called her the Cursed One. Children threw stones at her when she walked past. Merchants refused to sell her food. Some days she went hungry. Some nights she cried until she could not breathe. But she did not die. She did not give up. Somewhere deep inside, a small flame of hope lived on. At night, when the stars shone above, she whispered to the sky, "Stars, if you are real, if you see me, let the truth come out one day." Her hands touched the ground. Her ears listened to every step, every whisper. Though blind, she learned to see with her skin, with her heart. But still, the memory of her punishment cut deeper than any knife. The moment when her eyes were taken haunted her. The memory of the Bendy crowd's cheers when she was broken made her heart heavy. They had left her alive, but only to suffer. In her dreams, she often returned to the courtroom. She stood before the elders again, their faces filled with hate. She asked again, "What was my sin? Why me?" But the dream always ended with fire, with darkness, with silence. Liara did not know the truth. She did not know that her punishment was not for a real crime. She did not know that the elders feared her, feared something inside her. They lied to their people, and they destroyed her life to protect their secret. 15 years passed. The cursed girl grew into a woman. But still she was treated as dirt. No one offered kindness. No one offered love. Her life was a cage made of shadows. But fate was not finished with her. Though she could not see it yet, a storm was moving through the stars. Humans had arrived. In this part of the galaxy, searching, trading, watching, And one human captain would soon hear her story. Her punishment had broken her body, but not her soul. Her darkness was about to change. Her sight was about to return, and with it, the truth. A truth more dangerous than anyone could imagine. The city moved on without her, but Liara remained trapped in her shadow. Years passed like slow rivers, carrying away hope piece by piece. The people forgot her name, but they never forgot her curse. To them she was a warning, a living example of what happens to those who defy the elders. Every morning, Liara woke to silence. Her world was black, yet she felt the sun on her skin. She learned to walk carefully, listening to the sound of footsteps, to the rustle of wind. Her hands touched walls, stones, and doors, and through them she painted the world in her mind. She lived on the edge of the city, in a small broken house. No family visited her. No neighbors cared. Sometimes children followed her, laughing, throwing pebbles, calling her cursed. She swallowed her pain and kept walking, her head low. The markets were cruel places. Merchants refused to serve her. Some gave her rotten food. Others pushed her away. She begged, not with words, but with quiet patience. On good days, a stranger left her scraps. On bad days, she slept hungry. But Liara did not die. She learned to listen to the voices of the earth. She felt the vibration of footsteps through stone floors. She smelled rain before it fell. She knew who was angry, who was kind, only from the air around them. Though blind, she became sharp. She could hear a whisper from far away. She could walk through a room without touching a chair. The darkness became her world, but she mastered it. Even so, loneliness was her deepest wound. At night she lay awake, her body still, her mind burning with questions. What did I do? What sin was mine? Why did they punish me so? The silence answered only with echoes, but she kept asking. Every night for 15 long years. Sometimes she dreamed of light. In her dreams, she saw colors, faces, stars. She saw herself running free in wide fields, her eyes bright and whole. Again, but every morning she woke in the same black prison. Her heart carried scars deeper than her body. She heard mothers holding their children, laughing, whispering, telling stories. She would never have that. Her punishment had taken it away. Her womb was empty. Her arms would never hold a child, and the pain was endless still. A small flame of will lived in her chest. She whispered to the stars at night, "If truth exists, let it come. If light is real, let me see again." It was not hope. It was survival, a fragile rope she held in her heart, so she would not fall completely into despair. One evening, strangers arrived in the city. They were humans, tall and strange, their voices heavy with foreign tones. The people looked at them with suspicion, but also with need. The humans brought trade, new tools, new knowledge, and food. Liara heard their voices at the market. She stood in her corner, silent, listening. Their steps were different from her people's, heavier, slower, but not cruel. One voice in particular carried something unusual. Kindness. It was the voice of a captain, a human traveler who traded across many worlds. He asked questions that others feared to ask. He spoke gently, his words careful but curious. And when he heard whispers of the cursed girl, he wanted to know more. The people warned him, "Do not go near her. She brings misfortune. She carries darkness." But the captain did not turn away. Instead, he became more curious. Liara felt his presence one night when he came to her broken home. She heard his footsteps before he knocked. She smelled the strange scent of metal and smoke. Around him, her voice trembled when she asked, "Who are you?" The man replied softly, "A traveler. I have heard your story, and I do not believe it." His words struck her heart like thunder. No one had said that to her before, not once in 15 years. Her lips shook as she whispered, "You "You do not fear me?" The man smiled, though she could not see it. "I do not fear the broken. I fear the ones who break them," he said. Lyra's chest tightened, tears rising. For the first time in years, she felt seen, not as cursed, but as alive. The captain returned again and again, bringing small food, asking gentle questions. He wanted to know the truth of her punishment, but Lyra had no answers, only pain. Still, she told him her memories, her dreams, her endless question. Why me? As days passed, whispers spread. The people grew angry, saying the human was foolish, that he would bring doom. But Lyra did not care. For the first time in many years, she felt a spark of light inside. It was not sight, but it was something. Close, 15 years of darkness had broken her body, but had not killed her soul. And soon, very soon, a storm from the stars would change everything. Her eyes would open again, and the truth would not stay buried. The night of the storm began like any other. Lyra sat alone in her broken house, her hands feeling the cracks in the walls. She listened to the sound of thunder rolling across the sky. The air smelled different, sharp, filled with a strange, metallic taste. Rain began to fall, heavy drops striking the roof. But this was no ordinary rain. The storm came from the skies above the world, carrying dust from space. The humans had spoken of it before, saying strange energies sometimes followed their ships. Lyra felt the storm deep in her bones. The air pressed against her skin, hot and cold together. Her heart beat faster, as if warning her. Something powerful was moving through the night. She tried to sleep, but her body refused. She pressed her hands over her eyes, feeling the old scars, the scars that had kept her in darkness for 15 long years. But tonight, something stirred beneath them. A burning began inside her skull. Not pain like before, but fire, light, and heat. She gasped and clutched her head, trembling on the floor. For the first time since her punishment, she saw a flash. It was small, like the spark of a match in endless dark. But it was sight, real. Sight. Her breath caught, her heart pounded. She whispered, "No, it cannot be. It cannot." The storm outside grew louder. Lightning split the sky. The ground shook with power. Lyra crawled to her doorway, her body weak but her spirit strong. And then it happened. Her eyes opened wider, and she saw. At first it was blurry, colors mixing like smoke and water. But slowly, shapes came into focus. Her broken door, her thin blanket, the rain falling in silver lines. Tears filled her eyes, though they hurt to open. 15 years of darkness ended in a single heartbeat. She cried, covering her mouth, afraid her voice would wake the city. She touched the ground, touched the rain, touched her own face. Every touch now had a picture, a shape, a color. But joy did not last long, because the first clear vision that met her eyes was not the storm. It was a shadow, standing far across the street, watching her. A soldier, armored in black, his face hidden by a mask. Fear crushed her chest. How long had he been there? Why was he staring at her broken home in the middle of the storm? The answer came with cold dread. The council had been watching her all along. Lyra backed away, trembling. The soldier did not move. His presence alone was enough. She shut her door, her hands shaking, her breath wild. The storm raged, but inside her chest, a storm even greater began. Her sight had returned, but instead of freedom, it brought danger. She realized the truth. The council had feared this moment. They had not blinded her only to punish. They had blinded her to stop her from seeing something they wanted to keep hidden forever. Days passed, and Lyra's sight grew stronger. She could see more clearly now, though light still burned her eyes. She studied every detail, afraid it would vanish again. She watched the sun rise for the first time in 15 years, and her tears fell like rivers. The captain returned during this time. When he entered, she did not greet him with her usual stillness. Instead, she looked directly at him, her lips trembling with a smile. He froze, shocked. "Lyara." "Your eyes." Her voice shook. "I see you." The words were simple, but they carried the weight of a lifetime. The captain sat down beside her, his voice low. "How?" "Tell me everything." And she told him of the storm, of the burning, of the soldier in the shadows. The captain's face hardened. He knew what it meant. If her sight had returned, the secret of the council was at risk. Her life was now in greater danger than ever before. "Lyara," he whispered, "you cannot let them know." "Not yet." But she shook her head, her voice fierce. "They already know. They were watching." The memory of the soldier's mask still burned in her mind. She could not forget the feeling of being hunted. The captain promised to protect her, but his eyes showed worry. He knew her people would not allow her to live now. Not with her sight returned, not with her strength growing. The question was no longer about her innocence. It was about survival. That night, Lyara looked into the mirror for the first time since she was a girl. Her reflection stared back, scarred but alive. She touched the lines on her face, the wounds of years, and in her eyes she saw something new. Not just sight, but fire. The darkness had taught her patience. The punishment had made her strong. Now her sight gave her power, and deep inside, memories long buried began to stir. Flashes of voices, images of a secret moment, whispers of truth. Lyara knew then that her punishment had never been about sin. It had been about silence. The elders had blinded her to bury a secret she was never meant to see. But the secret was rising again. With her sight, with her strength, with her anger, the storm had changed everything. Her eyes had opened, and so had her fate. The question was not if the council would come for her. The question was when, and when they did. Lyara swore in her heart. She would not hide. This time she would fight, not only for her own life, but for the truth they had stolen from her for 15 long years. Lyra's sight grew stronger each day. What began as flashes of color turned into clear shapes and faces. The world she had lost returned piece by piece. But along with joy came something heavier. Memories. The memories came at night. They struck her in dreams and in sudden visions. She saw the judgment hall again, the faces of the elders, their eyes filled with fear. But she also saw something else, something buried deep inside her past. A book, old and glowing with symbols. She remembered touching it once when she was still a child. Her fingers traced its cover, and light spilled from it. Voices whispered from the pages, voices not of her world. The vision made her shiver. Could this be the reason they punished her? Not because she had sinned, but because she had seen something forbidden, something they wanted no one to know. The captain listened carefully as she told him of her dreams. He leaned forward, his eyes sharp. "This book you speak of, describe it." Lyara closed her eyes, trying to find the right words. "It was not made by my people. It felt older, stronger. It felt alive." The captain's voice grew low. "Alien knowledge, lost knowledge, maybe even a weapon." Lyara shook her head. "No, not a weapon. It was truth. It was history." Her voice trembled. "I think they blinded me because I saw too much." The silence in the room was heavy. Outside, whispers grew louder in the city. The Cursed One was changing. Her shadow was moving. Some said she was dangerous again. Others said she was blessed by the stars. Fear and curiosity spread through the people like fire in dry grass. The council of elders watched all of it with cold eyes. They met in secret chambers, their voices low. "She remembers too much," one said. "She will expose us," said another, their leader. The same who had sentenced her spoke with a voice like stone. "We must end this before the humans protect her. She cannot live." But in his eyes, there was fear, not anger. He feared the truth she carried. The captain began to guard Lyara closely. He brought her aboard his ship, away from the city. There she saw stars for the first time in 15 years. Her eyes filled with tears, whispering, "They are more beautiful than my dreams." But even among the crew, not all were loyal. Some feared the alien girl. They whispered that she would bring war, that she would curse them too. And somewhere in the shadows, betrayal was already waiting. One night, as the ship drifted in orbit, Liara walked the halls alone. Her sight now clear, her steps steady. She stopped when she saw a symbol carved into the wall, the same symbol from her vision, the symbol on the Forbidden's book. Her body froze, her breath sharp. Why was it here, on a human ship? Had the captain known more than he told her? Or was someone else hiding secrets from her? When she asked him, his face turned pale. He admitted slowly, "I have seen this symbol before, on ruins across many worlds." His voice shook. "It belongs to an ancient race, older than both our kinds, a race that vanished long ago." Lyra's heart raced. The pieces began to fit together. Her people had found something from that ancient race, something too dangerous, too powerful. And when Liara touched it, when she saw its light, the elders feared she would reveal their lies. "They blinded you to silence you," the captain said softly. Liara's hands trembled as she covered her face. Her punishment had never been about sin. It had been about control, about hiding the past. That night she dreamed again, but this time the dream was clearer. She stood in a vast hall of stone, with stars painted on the ceiling. The book glowed on a pedestal, voices calling her name. The voices whispered, "You are the key." Her eyes opened wide, her heart thundered. If this vision was true, then the council's fear was real. She was not cursed. She was chosen. The next morning, alarms shook the ship. Enemy signals approached from the planet below. The elders had sent hunters, soldiers trained to kill. They were coming for her, and they would not stop. The captain gripped her arm, his voice urgent. "We must leave now, or they will take you." Liara stood still, her eyes blazing with fire. "No," she said, her voice stronger than ever. "I will not run anymore." Her darkness had ended. Her sight had returned. And now the truth was rising. The forbidden secret was no longer hidden. It lived in her mind, in her blood, in her soul, and the elders would do anything to bury it again. But Liara swore she would never let them. The ship's alarm screamed through the dark halls. Red lights flashed. Shadows danced across the walls. Liara stood frozen for a moment, her heart pounding. She had seen storms before. She had seen hatred before, but this was different. The hunters had arrived. The council had sent their strongest soldiers, trained killers who never failed. Their mission was simple: capture the cursed girl or destroy her. No mercy, no hesitation, no second chance. From the window of the ship, Liara saw the enemy vessels rise from the planet below. They moved like sharp knives through the black sky, her hands clenched at her sides. Trembling with fear, but also burning with rage, she whispered, "They want to silence me again." Captain stood beside her, his face hard. "We cannot fight them head on," he said. "We must run, hide in the stars." But Liara shook her head, her voice low. "If I run, they will never stop. They will hunt me forever." Her words were heavy with truth. The crew prepared for battle. Some were brave, ready to defend their captain and his strange alien friend. But others whispered in corners, afraid. They wondered if Liara was worth dying for. In the chaos, Liara felt something strange, a sense deep in her bones, a pull in her blood. The closer the hunters came, the louder it grew. She realized with horror. She could feel them, as if tied to them by unseen threads. The first attack struck like lightning. The ship shook, sparks burst from the ceiling. Crew members shouted, rushing to stations. The enemy circled like wolves, sharp and merciless. Liara clung to the railing, her eyes wide. She saw flashes of their faces through the windows, masked and cold. But in her mind, she saw more, visions of their training, their hate, their orders. Her sight had become more than sight. It had become a window into truth. Lyara, the captain shouted, pulling her back. You must stay hidden. They are coming for you. But Lyara shook her head fiercely. No, I must see them. I must know why they fear me so much. The ship turned sharply, engines roaring. 2 hunters were destroyed, but more appeared. The crew fired weapons, but the hunters kept closing in. Their goal was not victory. Their goal was her. Among the crew, fear turned to anger. One man shouted, "Why do we risk our lives for her? She brings death to us all." Others looked at him with doubt. The crack of betrayal was spreading through the ship. Lyara felt it too, her heart sinking. She knew not everyone wanted to protect her. Some would hand her over if it meant safety. Her hands tightened into fists, tears stinging her eyes. But in the middle of fear, she remembered her visions. The book, the symbols, the voices calling her the key. She realized her survival was not just for herself. It was for something greater, something her enemies feared. The captain gathered the crew, his voice thunderous. Listen to me. You think she is cursed, but I tell you this. She carries truth, and they fear that truth more than any weapon. If we give her up, we become their slaves too. The room fell silent. Some still doubted, but others stood taller, their courage lit by his words. The hunters broke through the outer shields. The ship trembled as metal groaned under their attack. Lyra's eyes glowed with strange fire as she whispered, "They are here." And indeed, soldiers began boarding, their footsteps echoing through the halls. The crew fought, metal against metal, fire against fire. Screams filled the air. Smoke choked the halls. Lyara hid behind the captain at first, but her visions grew stronger. She could see the soldiers' moves before they made them. "Left!" she cried, and a crew member dodged a fatal strike. "Now!" she shouted, and another struck true. The captain looked at her with shock. "You can see their future," Lyara nodded, her body shaking. "I see what they plan before they do it." With her help, the crew pushed back the first wave. But more hunters were coming. Endless like a tide, Lyra's strength began to drain, her visions burning her mind. Still, she refused to fall. Then, in the middle of battle, she saw something worse. A crew member, one of their own, whispering into a small device, his eyes filled with fear, his voice low. "She is here. She is alive." Her chest turned to ice. Betrayal. Someone had chosen safety over loyalty. He had called the hunters directly, guiding them closer. Her lips trembled as she whispered, "Even here, I am not safe." The captain struck the traitor down, but the damage was done. The hunters grew fiercer, sharper. As if they knew every move, the ship shook under the storm of war. The line between survival and death grew thinner with every moment. Through the chaos, Lyara stood tall, her eyes blazing. She was no longer only the blind girl punished for sins. She was something else now, a flame they could not put out. Her voice rose above the screams. "If they want me, let them come. I will not hide." And deep inside, she felt the forbidden secret calling again. The voices whispering, the book glowing in her dreams. The truth was close, closer than ever, and the hunt had only just begun. The ship drifted in silence after the battle. Smoke rose from broken walls, sparks fell from wires. Bodies lay still in the corridors, both human and alien. The air was thick with the scent of fire and loss. Lyara sat against the cold wall, her hands shaking, her eyes burned from visions that had nearly torn her mind apart. But even through pain, she felt the pull of something deeper. The forbidden secret was rising closer to the surface. The captain knelt beside her, his voice heavy. "You saved us," he whispered. "Without you, none of us would be standing." But Lyara shook her head. tears running down her face. They are not done. They will never stop until I am gone. That night, as the crew repaired the ship, Lyra dreamed again. The dream was sharper than ever. She stood in a hall of stone. Older than any city she had known, stars carved into the ceiling glowed with golden light. The book lay before her, resting on a pedestal, its pages turned without wind, glowing with strange fire, and voices whispered from it, voices layered one upon another. You are the key. You are the one who remembers, Lyra reached out in. The dream, her hands trembling, when she touched the book, light poured into her mind. She saw visions of her world, her people, and the council who ruled them, but behind them, she saw something older, something hidden, a race that came before, beings of light and shadow. They left their knowledge across the stars, waiting for one who could unlock it. Her people had found a piece of it, the Book of Truth, and when Lyra touched it as a child, it awoke inside her. The elders had feared this. They had feared that a child, a girl with no power or name, could see what they had kept buried. So they lied, they called. Its sign. They blinded her, they broke her body, not to punish her crime, but to erase their shame. When she woke, her heart pounded with fury. The truth was not a curse, it was freedom. The elders had chained her life to protect their lies, and now their chains were breaking. The captain listened as she told him everything. His face grew pale, his jaw tight. So this is what they feared, he said. Not your curse, but your gift, Lyra nodded, her eyes glowing. I am not their sinner. I am their secret. The crew gathered, some in awe, others in fear. They looked at her not as cursed, but as something greater. A key, a weapon, a danger. But Lyra stood tall, her voice strong. I do not want to rule, she said. I do not want to destroy. I only want the truth to live, for the lies to end. Her words carried weight, for they were born of suffering, and for the first time. Some believed her, but others did not. Fear twisted their hearts, whispering that she was too dangerous, that the council had been right all along. And again, cracks of doubt spread among them. The captain silenced them with a single command. We protect her, he said, or we betray everything we stand for. Still, unease lingered in their eyes. The shadow of betrayal had not fully left. As days passed, Lyra's visions grew stronger. She could hear whispers of the past when she touched certain objects. She could see flashes of the future when she closed her eyes. And deep inside, she felt the book calling her. It was no longer only a dream. It was a destination. She saw its resting place in her mind, hidden beneath the city where she was punished. The book still waited, sealed away by the council. Lyra knew then what must be done. She had to return to the place of her greatest pain, back to the judgment hall, back to the council, back to the truth they had buried beneath stone and lies. The captain tried to stop her. If you return, they will kill you, he warned. They will burn the sky to stop you. But Lyra's voice was steady. Then let them burn, but I will not hide any more. The crew stared at her. Some saw madness, some saw courage, but no one could deny the fire in her eyes. She had carried darkness for 15 years, and now she carried light. That night, as the stars passed outside the ship, she whispered to herself, I was blinded to silence me, but now I see more than they ever will. Her words were not only promise, they were prophecy. The truth was hers, and no power could erase it. Far away, the council gathered again. Their leader's voice was cold with fear. She is remembering. She is stronger than before. We must end this before the book is found. But in his heart, he knew the end had already begun. Lyra's sight had returned. Her gift had awakened. The forbidden secret was no longer buried. The revelation had come, and it was only the beginning. The storm she carried would change her world forever. The ship descended slowly toward the alien city. Below, the towers glowed in pale light, sharp and cold like blades. It was the same city where Lyra had once stood in chains, the same hall where she had been blinded and broken. Now she returned, not as the cursed one, but as the girl who had survived darkness. Her eyes burned with fire. Her heart carried truth. The crew watched her in silence, unsure if they were walking toward freedom or doom. The captain stood by her side, his voice steady. If we land, there will be no turning back. Lyra nodded, her voice calm. I was never meant to turn back. This ends where it began. The weight of 15 years pressed against her chest, but she did not falter. The hunters were waiting. Black armored soldiers surrounded the city gates. The people crowded the streets, whispering in fear and wonder. Some called her cursed again. Others called her blessed. When Lyra stepped onto the stone ground, silence fell. Her footsteps echoed, soft but unshaken. The elders watched from the high balcony, their faces pale with dread. They had tried to bury the truth, but the truth had returned. The council leader spoke, his voice like thunder. You dare return, after all we have done, after your punishment. Lyra lifted her head, her eyes burning with sight. I return not to beg, not to kneel, but to speak the truth you tried to erase. Gasps filled the crowd. Her voice carried across the square, clear and strong. I was never a sinner. My crime was not shame. My only crime was to see what you feared. Her words struck like lightning, cutting through lies built for years. The elders trembled. They ordered the hunters forward, but Lyra's vision surged within her. She shouted, "Wait!" And the soldiers froze. She stepped closer, her eyes glowing with strange light. I see you, she whispered. I see your orders, your fear, your doubt. The hunters shook, for her words pierced their minds. One by one, some lowered their weapons. The council leader roared in anger. She is a curse. She is tricking you. But Lyra's voice rose above him, strong as the storm. I am not a curse. I am the key. The book calls to me, and through it, all will see what you hide. The people murmured. Hope flickered in their eyes, fragile but alive. The council felt their power slipping, for fear cannot rule where truth begins to shine. Suddenly, a shadow broke through the crowd. The traitor from the ship, still alive, crawled toward the elders. She carries danger, he cried. End her now, before it is too late. But the captain struck him down, his voice fierce. Her truth is greater than your fear. The hall of judgment opened. Its doors wide. Lyra stepped inside, her body trembling but her spirit unbroken. The place of her punishment now became the place of her choice. And there, hidden beneath stone, the book waited. She touched the pedestal, her fingers shaking. The book glowed, its pages alive. Voices filled the hall, voices of the ancient race. You are the key. Will you open the way? The people gasped as the air trembled with light. The elders screamed, covering their faces. But Lyra stood tall, her eyes locked on the truth before her. She knew this was the moment, the choice that would shape all futures. She could open the book fully. She could release the knowledge, the power, the truth. It would free her people. But it would also bring war, for secrets do not die quietly. Or she could close it forever, hide the truth again, live in peace with the humans, no war, no blood. But the chains of lies would remain. Her people would never know what had been stolen. From them, her hands shook, her breath quickened. The captain whispered, "The choice is yours, not mine." The crew waited. The people watched. The world held its breath. Lyra closed her eyes. She remembered the years of darkness, the stones thrown at her, the hunger, the loneliness. She remembered the night she regained her sight, the visions, the hunters, the betrayal. She remembered the voice in her dreams. You are the key. Her eyes opened, filled with fire. Her voice rang through the hall. I choose truth. And with those words, she opened the book. Light exploded, filling every corner. The walls shook. The sky above cracked with thunder. Visions poured into every mind. Soldiers, children, elders, all saw it. They saw the lies of the council, the history that had been stolen. The elders screamed as their power broke. The hunters fell to their knees. Blinded by truth, the people wept, for they finally saw the chains that had bound them. And Lyra stood at the center, her body glowing with light. When the storm faded, silence covered the city. The council lay broken, their voices gone. The people looked to Lyra, their eyes filled with awe and fear. She was no longer cursed, no longer forgotten. She was their dawn. But Lyra did not smile. She knew truth brought freedom, but also danger. The enemies of her people would hear of this. The stars would burn with conflict, and the shadow of war was already moving closer. She turned to the captain, her voice soft but steady. "This is not the end," she said. "This is only the beginning." And as the crowd rose around her, whispering her name with hope, a shadow in the far corner whispered too, "Her story is not over."